Hey everyone, it's me, Geraldine Convento, and thanks so much for clicking on this link to watch this video. So just to give you a little bit of context of why we're talking about this, as a 40-year-old woman who doesn't really present as very feminine, I don't know too much about cosmetics and beauty, and I don't really invest very much money into that. However, I'm sure if you're one of those people as well, there's probably other areas of self-care and grooming that you care about. And for me, it's hair care. And I don't know about you, but it's been pretty difficult throughout my lifetime to figure out what types of hair products that I should be buying. People say, oh, don't buy Pantene Pro V. That's obvious. But how about all the other stuff? Like, how do you really know if something's really natural when it says that it is, if it's going to be great for your hair in the long run? It's really difficult. And if you're not in those circles where you're having those types of conversations on a regular or comfortable asking people about that, it can be really hard. So today I've brought onto my YouTube channel Oraiba Malik, who's the legit mommy on Instagram. She knows all about hair care and beauty and a lot of the stuff that I don't know. So I thought that it'd be helpful to bring her on just to educate everybody.
That's such a nice, generous intro. I love that. Thank you. My name's Oraiba. I am a woman. I'm a mom. I've been in the makeup industry for over a decade. I am also a respite care provider and also a professional network marketer.
I have a few questions. So you mind if I just start asking them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I talked about this with a number of people. You know, a lot of us, especially people with long hair, whether you're a woman or a man with long hair, shed a lot of hair. Like whether it's in the shower or at the end of the day, you look at your brush and it's like tons of hair. So what exactly does it mean? Is it like you're losing hair or what is that all about?
A healthy scalp, a healthy hair cycle, if you will shed roughly 100 to 150 pieces a day. That's absolutely normal. That's absolutely healthy. And that means turnover is happening, right? So it's making space for newer hair, healthier hair. All of that is completely normal. Now, on a daily basis, if you're losing more, then there are a couple of things you might want to look into, starting with health, internal health, and then maybe exterior factors. Now, I know a lot of people don't brush their hair every single day. So if you're brushing your hair every other day and now you're sitting there going, okay, that's not 100 pieces, that's 200. Please bear in mind, if you don't get a chance to take your hair out of the ponytail, if you're not giving your hair a chance to kind of breathe and relax, then it could be like the following day or whenever you give your hair that second that you might see a little more fallout. But in general, it's about 100 to 150 pieces a day. So that amount of shedding is absolutely normal.
Wow, that's a lot. And yeah, I believe it because hair is just very fine and comes out in clumps. So we should be brushing our hair on a regular basis. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So how much you should brush, I feel like that's much more of a cultural thing. As a rule of thumb, start with once a day. Like for somebody like me, I'll brush my hair first thing in the morning when I'm getting myself just ready for the day, wash my face, brush my teeth, give my hair a quick brush. And then honestly, I don't really touch it until it's bedtime. Once again, I wash my face, brush my teeth, and I do my hair.
Now let's talk about hair frizz because that could be an issue for some people.
Mhm.
Like there are certain shampoos that are supposed to reduce frizz, and I'm sure other methods of treating your hair so that way it's not frizzy when you like after you get out the shower and go outside. So what are your recommendations for that?
Frizziness is a broad umbrella. So much could be causing frizziness. I mean, to start with something very, very basic, something that can cause frizz without us realizing is extra clarification. So your hair might not need as much cleansing as you're providing it. For example, my hair is more of a medium coarse texture. So if I go in with a very stripping shampoo, or if I wash too often, then I'll find my hair is becoming frizzier. That could be just a very simple reason why. And then it could go into things like texture. Not every hair type needs to be combed straight immediately after the shower. Certain hair types just benefit from it being air dried. So my hair, once again, because that's the hair I'm most familiar with, which is more of a wavier texture. If I comb my hair straight, absolutely straight, and want it to air dry, I'm almost creating friction. I'm almost not giving my hair a chance to fall in its natural hair pattern. And by forcing it to do something it doesn't want to do as it dries, you'll notice wavier hair, when you're trying to straighten it in that sense, it's just going to start bubbling up and becoming frizzier and bigger and bigger. Whereas if you just allowed it to air dry, it probably wouldn't have been as big. Other things that can cause frizziness could be a sign of damage. Your hair is losing hydration. It is also losing protein. And so it's starting to fall apart. It's starting to deteriorate. So it's like a big sign saying, hey, if I'm looking a little extra piecey, or if I'm looking frizzy, or if I'm looking like I need something in my hair, and your hair maybe normally doesn't look that way, then that could be a sign that your hair needs a little more attention.
Wow. So it seems like sometimes we'll relate to our hair as like, oh, I just have frizzy hair. But really, you should be paying attention to the patterns of what's going on, because it might be the way that you're treating your hair, like whether combing it or the products that you're using, or
Mhm.
okay. Got it. Next question I have. This is a word I've heard a lot, like especially in fancy hair salons, and I never know what
Uh-huh.
it means. But what is keratin?
Keratin, plain and simple, it's a protein. Although there's absolutely nothing wrong with keratin, and actually hair that is more prone to frizziness when it comes to texture, natural texture, hair that doesn't bind moisture to itself easily may benefit from additional keratin in their hair. There's absolutely nothing wrong with keratin. It's the process in which keratin is infused to hair. So when you're doing like a keratin treatment, it's normally under high heat. That's the biggest red flag. And there are a bunch of different chemicals involved that may not be the best for hair, but keratin in itself is just a protein. And one of the biggest things that keratin does is add in smoothness.
Good to know. All right. So my next question is, how do I make my hair look more silky? Like I usually keep my hair up on purpose. I used to like have layered hair and always fix it and blow dry it and all that stuff. But in general, when I choose not to have my hair up, I like it to look more silky. So what are your recommendations?
We'll start off with really figuring out what kind of hair do you have. If your hair is more medium or naturally pretty straight with a few waves, then work with those waves. You'll find that when you nourish waves or you nourish curls, anytime you're trying to change a hairstyle, whether it's a day you want to go more straighter, or you're just blow drying straight, or you're maybe going in with actual flat iron, your hair will want to work. If you are just out of the shower and just trying to comb it straight and you're mad because it's not straight, it's just your hair is going to get mad at you. So nourish your hair. If it is wavier, if it has a few more curls, answer that. Answer your hair's need for hydration. So leave-in conditioners are great. Maybe a little bit of oil here and there, making sure you're using the right amount of hydration, not too much, not too less. Make sure you're adding in a heat protectant, because your hair is not going to be smooth in the long term if you're not using a heat protectant when you're straightening your hair or smoothing out your hair. Add in smoothness. Hairspray is awesome. Maybe like a glossy mist just to give like that more sleek look to the hair. But I think it's all about the layers. So what's your starting layer? Is it air dried? Okay. So what's that second layer that you can add in? Maybe a a smoothing treatment, maybe a leave-in conditioner, maybe a heat protectant, add in that heat style. And then finally, what's that final layer that's going to hold everything together? Maybe hairspray. It could be just a glossy mist. Just depends on what you want to do. But the smaller the layers are, the thinner the layers are, the longer your hairstyle will last. It's kind of like makeup.
Wow, this is like a recipe. So,
I've had really difficult hair growing up, so I've got it down.
okay, cool. Well, my hair is pretty straight. So yeah, so what I'm hearing is like comb it, and then whatever else is needed, like just try adding on more stuff. So what is a heat protectant?
Essentially, just the way that we don't want to be in the sun for an extended amount of time without protection on our face because it can cause breakdown, the collagen elasticity in our skin and cause pigmentation, all sorts of things. Similarly to our hair, extended period of time, whether that's going to be under the sun or under a flat iron, can actually cause our hair to deteriorate. And it can get to a point where you'll see split ends, or you'll literally see your hair kind of splitting. Not as so much of the split end, but literally just kind of combusting and falling apart. So a heat protectant is going to be either a spray, a cream. I know now it even comes like in a mousse form, if you will, but essentially something that's going to sit on top of the hair, each strand, to protect it, that when you do apply, whether it's a hot tool or you're going to be at the beach, the sun or any sort of heat is not going to affect it in a way where it kind of deteriorates to that point where it's a point of no return.
Oh, so it's like prepping your hair for the heat that's to come. Okay.
Like sunscreen for your hair.
Okay, good to know. Yay. All right. So my next question is, I know one of the products you introduced me to when you first gave me a sample was a hair mask.
Yep.
So the process was that I washed my hair twice, I used the hair mask, and then the conditioner. And I have started to see over time the results of my hair being a lot softer,
Mhm.
and just seeming a lot more healthy. But I'm just curious, what exactly does a hair mask do for hair?
A hair mask, in my opinion, is more fine tuning. Your hair health is going to come from what you do on the daily. Same thing with skincare, right? Health is going to come from what you do on the daily. Now, when you're going to go in for that facial once in a while, it's really just fine tuning a few things here, a few things there. Same thing with a hair mask. So, for example, with your regular hair routine, you might find, yeah, hair is doing okay, but maybe on a given week, you might find that your hair is exceptionally dry. So you might need a moisture mask. You might find on any given week that maybe you're under the sun. Maybe you've got some highlights in. Your hair needs a little more repair. You might need a protein treatment. You might find that your hair is not as smooth, as shiny as you're used to it being. It might need a touch of keratin. So that's where a hair mask would come in. Now, a lot of the hair masks traditionally that we've kind of been introduced in our lives are just that, some sort of moisture hydration treatment, but there are hair masks that are applied just to your scalp. So there are like charcoal masks that can help kind of soak up excess oil. There are purifying masks that can help kind of pH balance the scalp as well. So there's a whole world of masks, and it's just fine tuning.
For any of you out there who need a hair mask or having certain issues with your hair, you probably want to talk to Legit Mommy on IG and ask
Yeah,
her,
there's a lot of
tell
masks.
her what's up. Okay, another question that I've also talked with people about is like, how often are you really supposed to wash your hair? I know there are some people who wait days and some people wash every day. Like, do you have
Mhm.
any opinions about that?
Well, as a rule of thumb, not every day. So that applies to everybody.
Good
Try
to
not
know.
to wash your hair every day. But after that, there's no rule. So I know it's pretty funny, but go with your own feel. Another thing I'll note is initially, if you're used to washing your hair every second day, every other day, you'll find that your hair likes to follow that cycle. So if you're used to washing your hair every other day, you'll find, that every other day when it comes around, your hair is greasy, it's ready, your scalp's like, okay, let's do the wash. And it's because that's how you've kind of trained your scalp. If you start extending your washes out, so instead of every other day, now you're going every 2 days or every 3 days. Over time, after week 2 or week 3, you'll see that your hair is kind of trained now, and it'll be
Mhm.
ready for every 2 days, every 3 days. And the only reason why you might want to consider extending out your hair wash is because going back to what can cause frizziness or what can cause an imbalance between scalp and ends, your hair might not need that much clarification. Even if you are, let's say, working out every single day and you're like, oh my gosh, no, my roots, they need help. Ask yourself, is it just your roots or is it root to tip? You shouldn't really be washing your hair unless you're at that point where like root to tip or ready for that car wash, if you will. Okay. If it's just your roots that need a little bit of help, maybe look into just a dry shampoo. If you have more coarser, more ethnic hair, I mean, right now we have things like a co-wash, but traditionally I know people who would just wash their scalp, let's say once a week with a conditioner. So if you have more Afro ethnic hair, your hair could get away with something like that. But if you're somewhere in between with that, try pushing your hair to every 3 days, every 4 days. You might find that your hair is a little bit healthier in the sense that it's falling back into its natural curl pattern. I relate a lot of healthy hair to people's high school hair or their best hair. So whatever point in time you had your best hair, whether it was in middle school, high school, go back to that vision of hair. And although our hair does change every 7 years or so, overall, I feel that as your hair becomes healthier, it starts aligning back to your best hair. I don't know how that works, but that is something that happens. To just play it by ear. There is no real formula. And on that note, I mean, there are going to be weeks, there are going to be days, there are going to be months where you're like, girl, I know I just washed my hair like 2 days ago. I got to wash my hair. So just go by feel.
We've talked a lot about what people should do with their hair, but now let's talk about what they should not do with their hair.
We were taught to treat our faces with a lot more care than we were our hair, just as a generation, if you will. So with the basics, when you're brushing your hair, I mean, for the person who doesn't even do much, I'm hoping people are brushing their hair. So when you're brushing your hair, don't tug at it. Consider a white tooth comb, something that's not so fine, just to get the tangles out before you go in with a paddle brush. Sometimes just going in with a paddle brush can be a little too much. If your hair is prone to tangling up or knotting up, consider a detangler. A detangler is not for that person only that really chronically deals with tangles. It could be anybody, honestly. And all that's going to do is, it's going to add a little bit of more hydration. It will help smooth out that brushing process. It's funny, I read the statistic that said more than not, our breakage in our hair is caused by the way that we brush our hair. I didn't realize how people were brushing their hair in general until I had some of my friends come over and I was like, can you just brush your hair? I just want to see how you brush your hair. And they were like, okay. And I saw them start here and start to pull the brush down. And every inch of me was like, stop, no, don't. Start at the bottom. Start at the bottom. You'll
Oh,
deal with many less tangles because think about it. If you're starting up top here, you're kind of almost pulling down all the tangles until they get to a point where they turn into a knot. So if you're starting at the bottom, you're going to be able to work through those smaller tangles and knots easier, and nothing's accumulating. You're not pushing anything together. Be gentle, maybe consider a detangler. When in doubt, think about a leave-in conditioner. So as a person who doesn't even do a lot to their hair, consider a leave-in conditioner or an oil. Somebody once told me, even if your hair is doing nothing, let it heal itself. So with that idea in mind, it doesn't have to be anything heavy. It could be something super lightweight, but there is absolutely nothing in this world like shiny, healthy, bouncy hair. It doesn't have to be colored. It could be a whole head of just gray hair. And it's gorgeous and it's beautiful because it's healthy, it's healed. There's no outside damage. Always consider a leave-in like that. Never go without a heat protectant. If you're going to be outside in the summertime, there are UV protectors, kind of like sunscreen for your hair. There are heat protectors if you're going to be using a hot tool. Wash less than you think you do. You might not need to shampoo as much unless you're really in tune with your hair and your scalp. Then yes, wash as much as you need to. If you haven't done a clarifying wash though, in 6 months or so, consider one. It might change everything about your hair. Internal health is a huge factor. If you feel like you've tackled most of everything when it comes to your hair and you still can't figure it out, now start talking to yourself about things that you could be doing internally. Have questions like, what's my water intake like? What's my vitamin intake like? Can I add things like collagen? Doesn't have to be animal driven collagen. There are vegan alternatives now, which are essentially just amino acids that help your body make its own collagen.
that's awesome. I've learned so many things of how to take care of my hair better. And they're all really simple, which I really appreciate that you've explained all of this, because a lot of times when we think about hair care, we think about going to the salon, spending a bunch of money, buying tons of product. But from what I'm hearing from you, it doesn't have to be that way. That all being said, I would love for you to share a little bit more about Monat and the types of products that you have, what's different about them, just because, I'm a customer of yours and I want people to know.
A little bit about the brand. It's clean, it's vegan, it's green, it's all the things, right? But what sets it apart? Well, back in the day, from what I understand, the brand started off being a solution to people coming out of cancer treatments, wanting to grow their hair without a prescription because there's nothing clean on the market. Even things that had a prescription or was a hair growth treatment, it wasn't often clean enough. So this hair care comes out saying, hey, we can be available to the masses if you're looking for something that is clean, that will help your hair just perform at its peak. And so it comes out into the market and the crowd goes wild. Whether someone has suffered with, a form of cancer or not, people want in because it works. And the ideology of it is not so complicated. The way that it works is it goes in to pull out any of the gunk kind of sitting around on the scalp and the strand. So think leftover minerals, silicones, waxes, dead skin cells that could be trapped, leftover product, all of that of a period of like about 30 days to detox the hair. It gets started with that. After 30 days, you start noticing, as a side effect of a cleaner scalp and cleaner hair, is that your hair can breathe. Your scalp can breathe. Therefore, your hair is producing its own natural oils. Your hair is more shinier. It's regaining its bounce. You'll also find that you're shedding less because your hair, there's so many factors that can cause excess shedding. But over a period of, I want to say 30 to 60 days, you start seeing your hair is definitely taking on a transformation. By 90 days, I feel like people are like, whoa, what a world's difference. And it all just comes back to bringing your hair back to its cleanest state. Clean not being in the sense of strippy clean being in the sense of there's no sort of film sitting on top of it, nothing kind of blocking the glands, nothing that's suffocating it, if you will. I mean, I started off as a customer. I was postpartum, baby number 2, literally missing hair all the way over here, all the way over here, had tried everything under the sun, had been to so many salons, practically owned like a hair section of Ulta and Sephora underneath my
Right?
bathroom carpet. And I was just like, well, maybe if I use this longer, I'll see results. Maybe I've outgrown this. Maybe my hair is immune to this now. And I was just telling my false stories and really trying to see a difference. I'm introduced to Monat, and I'm skeptical at heart. You can tell me so much, but I refuse to believe it until I believe it. And then once I'm converted, I'm converted. So I ordered the stuff, check it out, and I held onto my box and I held onto my receipt because I was told I had 30 days to return it if I absolutely hated it. I took my own before picture and I tried the product for 27 days. I still remember, so I could get in within the 30-day time frame. And I took my own after picture. I couldn't play tricks with my eyes. I couldn't tell myself stories. There was nothing to really talk about. There was such a huge difference. And primarily I was trying to use it to regrow some of my hair and stop the excess shedding. But the shine factor in my hair was so evident, I couldn't make it up. So of course, I'm like, shoot, I love this stuff. I got to keep going. I keep using it. And now I'm taking 2-month mark pictures, 6-month mark pictures, 9-month mark pictures. I'm going to see my hairstylist and she's like, when was the last time we did your hair? In the books I have 4 months, but this doesn't look right. You have so much growth. And it's just one of those snowball effects that at this point now, I'm such a diehard fan. It's not even about the products. Everybody needs to know.
That's awesome, and that's really reassuring to know that even someone who is a makeup artist and knows a lot about cosmetics and beauty also had those same challenges
Oh
with
yeah.
what to buy and like not really knowing what would be best for your hair. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Will you let people know the best way to reach you if they have any questions about their hair care needs?
I practically live on Instagram. I know it's horrible, but that's where I am. And if you want to get a hold of me, just shoot me a message. Start off with something like, hey, girl, can we chat about hair, skin? If you want to maybe look into trying out some samples, message me. I would love for you to try them out first. If you want to maybe just dive in and just start off with a whole regimen, we can definitely do that. And then, of course, we carry hair care, skincare, and then wellness as well. So it all kind of ties in together.
I think it's important because, like I said, we don't always get to have these types of conversations if we're not in these circles of people who are always talking about beauty and all that stuff. So, all right, y'all. I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this particular episode. Make sure to hit up the Legit Mommy and get all your questions answered about your hair and skin and all that stuff. All right. So, we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.